it is also important to note, I think, that resolving these dispute isn't about proving one side right or the other side wrong outrightly, but finding a way to address the concerns of both parties.
So today we talk about the South China Sea issue, and both the historical evidence and documents have confirmed Chinese activity in the South China Sea dated back to over 2,000 years ago. And both in 1935 and 1948, China reviewed and approved some individual islands and reefs of this region. But in the 1970s, Philippines invaded this region and made illegal some islands and reefs. So who do you think has the legitimate claim over the South China Sea? What do you think?
Right. First of all, thanks for having me again, Zhao Fujing. And basically, whenever there is an international dispute, it all emerges from, the two sides or the sides that are involved in a dispute, basically not seeing the point from a same perspective. That's the problem. So, of course, each sides have its own views. So in this case, determining who has the more legitimate claim in the South China Sea between China and the Philippines is intriguing, because it depends on how you interpret history and international law. So China, of course, as you also mentioned, points to its historical claims, historical maps, and a long-standing presence in the region, which dates back to centuries, which is also emphasized in the 9-dash line that China says outlines their territory, based on, again, centuries of maritime activity. And Chinese perspective is that their fishermen and traders have been using these waters for a very long time, which gives them rightfully a historical claim and a right to this region. On the flip side, again, because history keeps on moving and changing, so on the flip side, the Philippines actually bases its claim on the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, or UNCLOS, which also tries to define, which basically defines exclusive economic zones, or EEZs, which extends 200 nautical miles from a country's coastline as that country's territory. So according to UNCLOS, many of the disputed areas in this case, including the Nansha Island, which are also known as Spratly Islands, and the Huangyan Island, which are known as the Scarborough Shoal, fall within the Philippines EEZ. So, and there was also apparently a 2016 ruling by the Permanent Court of Arbitration, PCA, in The Hague, which supported the views of the UNCLOS and invalidated China's 9-dash line claims. But China certainly doesn't agree, and it has reasons to believe that it has a very strong footing, strong historical linkages with the region, and therefore it doesn't agree with the PCA ruling as well as the UNCLOS definition. China has been asserting that, as I mentioned, that Chinese fishermen have long operated in these waters, establishing a kind of a de facto historical presence that predates all the modern international laws. And that's a very strong claim. Beijing also argues that historical rights should be considered within the UNCLOS framework, despite UNCLOS typically emphasizing geographical proximity and exclusive economic zones. So China views the South China Sea as crucial for its energy security, given its potential oil and gas reserves. The sea lanes in the South China Sea are vital for China's trade and maritime security. Therefore, the South China Sea is seen as essential for China's national security and economic stability. It is also important to note, I think, that resolving these disputes isn't about proving one side right or the other side wrong outrightly, but finding a way to address the concerns of both parties. So bilateral and regional discussions between the stakeholders are crucial for a peaceful solution. Military provocations on the other side, and kind of trying to provoke, in this case, what has happened recently, to provoke the provocative measures against China, these kind of activities won't help anyone and can actually make things worse. Additionally, I think external players like, as we all know, the United States should avoid intervening in this kind of dispute, as their involvement often complicates matters instead of helping to resolve them.